Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. My name's Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week, we're going to catch you off guard. I bet you never guessed the game that we were going to pick this week to talk about, and that is Flappy Bird. Yeah, that's right. Mike did a lot of Flappy Bird research, and he can fill an entire podcast with Flappy Bird. So take it away, Mike.
3.5 hours of Flappy Bird research coming at you. Had a lot of downtime this week, ready to do it. So, yeah, we're going to talk about mobile gaming for, I think, the first time today.
Yeah, sure. Maybe.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it sort of tangentially, and like some of the series we talked about have had like mobile spin-offs and stuff like that, but I don't think we've ever covered a game that was mobile first.
Yeah, and I think we should definitely do a history of mobile gaming at some point. That would be fun. Yeah. And I don't think that's going to be covered in like the books we use, like Ultimate History of Video Games. Mobile could be covered. I have no idea, but it definitely wasn't in the first one. So, so we are going to talk about Flappy Bird, and the main article I used is there's a Rolling Stone article called "The Flight of the Birdman." Flappy Bird creator Dong Nguyen speaks out, and it's by David Kushner. David
Kushner of Masters of Doom fame?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Wow.
He wrote this article too, so it's kind of neat. So let's do the grime facts real quick. So the developer is Dong Nguyen and his company Dot Gears, but I'm pretty sure it's just him.
Yeah, I was like, was it actually a company? I seem to remember it being, I'm sure you'll talk about it, but I remember it being like a solo guy who like all of a sudden was a thing.
Yeah, and he definitely like, it's his company. Like it'll say Dot Gears as the developer, but it's just him. You know? Yeah. So the release date was May 24th, 2013. It came out on Android and iOS. The number of copies downloaded, because it was a free game, so it came out on May 24th, 2013. It had a huge spike that we're going to talk about for certain reasons in January 2014. And then it hit 50 million downloads.
Holy moly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the genre for this game is a little different. I don't know what to call it. I'm going to call it arcade in quotes, because I think that covers it, because you're trying to get a high score.
Yeah.
So we're going to call it that.
It exists in a genre that hasn't really been codified, because like I can only really think of Flappy Bird and like that Flash helicopter game, you know, they used to play in high school. Like those are really the only two games that are like kind of similar in that sense, I think. And maybe there are some other smaller spin-offs, but I don't know if there's an actual name for that genre.
I don't think there really is at all. And yeah, I think a groundbreaking achievement for this game, I'm looking at the awards, accolades, and groundbreaking achievement section of Grime Facts, is how many times this game has been cloned over the years, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the podcast today.
Okay.
The average time to complete is non-applicable, because you can never beat this game conventionally. It just ends after you get a score. There is a Metacritic review score, and it is 52 out of 100 based on 7 reviews.
Okay.
That's Metacritic reviewers, not players. Metacritic reviewers. So,
yeah.
Have you played Flappy Bird, Tyler? Did you play
I have played Flappy Bird, yes. I was not good at it because it was pretty frustrating, but I get it.
Too.
I understand, yeah.
In the course of this research, I'll tell you how you can play it, the actual game now. There is a way still, and it's in browser, but I tried to play that, and it was very hard. So, okay. Gameplay-wise, Flappy Bird is very simple, because it's designed for you to just like pick it up on your phone and play it real quick and then be done. So your goal is to tap the screen to control the bird. When you tap the screen, the bird goes up, and then it starts moving down again. You're fighting gravity, essentially, with the bird. And then 2 pipes appear, an upper pipe and a lower pipe, and you got to fly between them with the bird. If you hit the pipe, or if you hit the ground, it's game's over.
That's it, GG.
Every time you go through a pipe, you get a point. You go until you die, essentially. And when you do die, it's very funny, because it makes a funny noise. But, okay, so, development-wise, Dong Nguyen, and it's pronounced Nguyen, N-W-I-N is the pronunciation. It's spelled Nguyen, grew up in, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Van Phuc. It's Vanphuc, which is a silk-making village outside of Hanoi. And his mother worked for the government, and his father owned a hardware store, and his family was poor as a child. They didn't actually grow up with video games until the family got a cloned Nintendo Entertainment System, I was trying to look up cloned electronics, and this is a whole thing we could go down, a whole rabbit hole we could go down, because apparently cloned off-brand gaming consoles are huge in other parts of the world, like especially Vietnam.
Well, they're a lot cheaper to do that, and some of the like copyright laws over there are pretty lax. And for markets like China, for a long time, if a thing was made outside of China, it was very hard to get into China, or nearly impossible to get it into China to sell it. So what would happen is a company inside of China would like take an NES that couldn't be sold in China and like clone it, and then they would sell it inside of China, and then those things sort of, I assume, sort of like trickled out to nearby areas as well.
Yeah, and so that's what Dong Nguyen got as a kid, and that's how he got into gaming. And he loved gaming, and I mean, we'll look into cloned consoles later on down the line. You know, I put it on the list after I looked this up and I read some stuff about it, but the more important thing to note is that Nguyen played Super Mario Brothers, quote, obsessively. That's his own description of it as he was growing up. And that's why at 16 years old, he actually had already coded his own chess game. Nice. And then at 19, he placed 20th in a programming competition in college and won an internship with Punch Entertainment, which was one of the only video game developers in Hanoi at that time. And Nguyen actually was really good at programming games for phones, like really, really good at it. He was very independent. His boss, Sun Bui Trong, said, quote, Dong didn't need a supervisor. He wasn't comfortable with it, so we said he did not have to report to anyone, end quote. So
wow.
Kind of a loner, I guess is how they would put it. And while Nguyen made great games, he was making these sport games on phones that he just wasn't really into. Didn't really like them. And also another thing to think about that was kind of crazy to me when I realized this is the age of buttons, like on phones. Remember those when phones had buttons?
Oh, yeah, when phones had buttons.
Like a keypad, you know? So
wow. Long lost time ago.
Yeah, so he's making games for phones with buttons. But then this new revolutionary technology came out called an iPhone, and it had a touch screen, and so many ideas came into people's heads about what to do, specifically Dong Nguyen's head. He was like, you know what? I can make games on my own with a touch screen, and it's going to be great. So that's what he did. And after, it didn't say actually if his internship with Punch Entertainment ended or if he left. It's kind of hard to say, but all I could find out is sometime after his job at Punch Entertainment, he started to program location devices for taxi cabs in Hanoi. That's also when he kind of started his independent game development career on the side. And he actually did design games after his internship with Punch. In fact, right like a month before Flappy Bird came out, he created a game called Shuriken Block. And in Shuriken Block, the player's goal was to stop ninja stars from impaling like 5 little men on the screen. So you had to like click on the ninja stars to stop it. Again, using the touch screen. And both Shuriken Block and Flappy Bird have 2 things in common. They are very simple games, and they are painfully difficult. That's how I would describe it. Referencing the old Nolan Bushnell adage of simple to learn, hard to master, that was really taken to heart by Nguyen. In fact, this type of game has an entire subgenre named after it called Masocore. Have you heard of this, Tyler?
No, I've never heard of it, but I think I can make a guess at like what that means.
So here is the definition of Masocore from Giant Bomb. Quote, a theoretical video game subgenre specifically designed to frustrate players by combining complex game mechanics with intense, seemingly impossibly difficult, in special, quote, trial and error scenarios. Characteristics of Masocore games include infinite lives, forcing players to retry sections of the game over and over in order to proceed, twitch gameplay, and confusing and often conflicting goals. Most popular in postmodern indie games, Masocore games usually fall under the 2D platformer genre, though some bullet hell games often double as Masocore games. End quote. So, you may notice the main difference between Giant Bomb's definition and Flappy Bird is not complex, but it does make the player do a trial and error activity over and over again with infinite lives to get a high score. So I have decided that we will say it's Massacre for that reason, and I've already put Massacre on the list of things we need to talk about, so that's on there. I think Massacre really stemmed from Dark Souls games, which is Tyler's favorite genre, so we'll talk about it at some point, I'm sure.
Big fan.
Right?
Yep, everybody knows, big fan.
I love
sarcasm. For the brand new listeners, it's sarcasm. It's probably my least favorite genre.
Yeah, that's why, Ogo Bogdo, man. Ogo Bogdo.
Yep, really got me. Ogo Bogdo really got me.
It got me too, though. I kept fighting that frog boss, thinking we had to beat him. You didn't have to beat him at that point. You could have come back later. So it was. You know what? I came back later. It was still very hard. So there's that. All right. So Nguyen had many reasons to create games like this, but one of them was his main critique of games, like phone games at the time, specifically like Angry Birds. To him, Angry Birds was way too complex and busy for a phone game. You pull back on the bird, you have to aim your shot, and then you have to watch as everything falls into place, and then like refocus your strategy after that. That is not something that Nguyen was into. And so he wanted to make a game that people could play with just one hand by tapping.
Mm-hmm.
A game for people who are like trying to kill time while waiting on a bus or waiting in line somewhere. Like everyday life, like you just pick up your phone, play this game, and you're done, You can
just bust it out real quick, and when you lose, you can put it away, and that's fine.
Exactly. So that's what he wanted to make. So one other thing that we're going to talk about is, it's April 2013. Okay, Tyler? I'm taking you back in time.
Okay.
All right? This is Vietnam's reunification day. All right, the end of the Vietnam War. This is a holiday, and everyone's celebrating. But picture Dong Nguyen holed up in his parents' house, and this is where he would create Flappy Bird over a weekend.
Wow.
It took 1 weekend to make this game. They got 50 million downloads. He wanted to make the game even simpler than Shuriken Block. Wanted to make a game that's even simpler. And so he decided to take the game's protagonist, and I'm using protagonist very haphazardly here because I actually put question mark next to it because I'm not sure if you call it a protagonist in quotes, is a tiny bird that he modeled after a Cheep Cheep in Mario, the Cheep Cheep fish.
Mm-hmm.
And the bird's name is Faby, Faby. So
didn't know the bird had a name.
It had a name. So Nguyen put the bird in the game, and then he put the pipes in the game, and he made it kind of like an homage to Mario. Like everything in this game was actually like an homage to Super Mario Brothers, the game that Dong Nguyen loved as a kid. And he's going to kind of get into some hot water maybe later for that. But that's why the game looks the way it looks. It looks very Super Mario Brothers-y.
Yeah, it does.
But that's why. It's like, he's paying an homage to his childhood, which is nice. Okay. So, for gameplay, Nguyen preferenced what David Kushner calls, quote, the most Massacre analog creations ever, paddle ball. Do you remember paddle ball? The little, tiny ball on the string connected to the paddle?
Oh, yeah.
And you have to keep hitting the paddle. So, that's what Nguyen, was referencing when he thought of Flappy Bird. The same way the paddle and the ball goes away and bounces back, the bird up and down like that. But Nguyen, knew that this would be funny. He knew the game would be funny. He chose to put that kung fu thwop sound when the bird hit and face plants, and then it's supposed to be intentionally humorous but also very hard because it's kind of trying to dull the tone of this very difficult game with a little bit of humor. So on May 24th 2013, Flappy Bird launched, and it flopped. Not flapped, it flopped. The
Floppy
game,
Bird.
It was a floppy game. Flappy Bird, the floppy game. The game was a bust pretty much until November 4th, 2013. So that's almost 6 months later when the game started getting traction on Twitter. And then on January 27th, 2014, a video by now famous or infamous YouTuber PewDiePie was released. And the video is now titled Flappy Bird, Don't Play This Game. But it was definitely titled something else before, and he changed the title of it. I think it was honestly Flappy Bird F this game or something like that.
Yeah.
And that blew up. So
wow. Okay,
yeah.
so I didn't realize that this was an influencer like PewDiePie thing, because this would have been earlier on in PewDiePie's career. He was probably pretty big by this time, but he had the power to make things go viral, and I guess he did.
Yeah, it was like a mix of Twitter, Reddit, and PewDiePie. Those three things formulated the perfect storm where everyone started downloading Flappy Bird because it was so hard and it was so painful that people thought it was funny, and they kind of rallied around that. And I know from my own personal experience with the game, like when this game came out, me and my friends were playing it because we wanted to beat each other's scores.
Yeah.
Like it was like a competition among your friends. And that's why this game kind of blew up. So the aftermath of it blowing up on January 27, 2014, well, I guess I could just say January 2014. That's kind of the general timeline of it exploding, is Dong Nguyen's life changed. And at first, it was great. Like people loved the game or loved to hate the game. There were quotes on Twitter saying things like, quote, "This is the most annoying game, yet I can't stop." And quote, "Slowly consuming my life," end quote. So it's like people are like into it and they're playing it and they're loving it. Nguyen's Flappy Bird was successful, reaching number 1 on the iOS store charts on January 17th, 2014. And then a week later, it hit number 1 on the Google Play charts. And he started to earn revenue for him and his company Dot Gears. And Dot Gears' other titles, Shuriken Block, and a new game he had just submitted to the App Store called Super Ball Juggling, also went to the top 10.
Okay. Did they have ads in them or something?
Yes, they all these games were free and had ads.
Okay, there you go. Cool.
And it's estimated from Nguyen, he's said this, that he started making $50,000 a day.
Holy moly.
On Flappy Bird ad revenue. And so the game was free, and you would just see like a banner ad on the screen. But what's also crazy to think about is he was making $50,000 a day after Google and Apple took their 30% cut.
Wow. And it was just him, too. Like, only him. So this was not like he's not paying other people's salaries. He's not running a company. It's just him getting $50K a day.
$50,000 a day.
Wow.
And he made this game thinking he would get like hundreds of dollars per month, maybe.
Yeah, it was like an afterthought. It was like, maybe I will make the minimum wage for the amount of time I put into making it.
Yeah. And so essentially Nguyen was rich overnight. He didn't show it. He bought a new Apple computer to like make games on, and he took his friends out to dinner, but that was kind of it. He didn't even tell his parents about the game. As he said, quote, "My parents don't understand games," end quote. So he just never told them. Flappy Bird was a huge success, but it slowly started to take a toll on its creators. So Nguyen would send tweets like this one on February 8th, 2014. The tweet was, quote, "I can call Flappy Bird as a success of mine, but it also ruins my simple life, so now I hate it." End
Dang.
quote. The surprise announcement then came on February 9th on Twitter. It read, quote, "I am sorry, Flappy Bird users. 22 hours from now, I will take Flappy Bird down. I cannot take this anymore." Then, for the next 22 hours, Flappy Bird was downloaded 10 million times.
What was like, was it just the money was so much that it was like changing his life in a way that he didn't like it, or was he like getting harassed or something?
Tyler, the second half of this podcast is solely dedicated to this entire idea.
Thank you so much, Mike. First, I'm so happy.
We are going to get through the fun things that happen, and I say fun loosely. Once the game was off all the app stores, eBay sold phones which had Flappy Bird pre-installed for a US amount, $1,499 or more. Some bids reached $90,000.
Dang.
For phones that had Flappy Bird on them already.
I kept Flappy Bird on my phone for a long time.
Me too. I did too. And then I was like, why do I care? So
yeah,
this would actually stop pretty quickly though, because I didn't know this. eBay has a rule that if you sell a smartphone on their website, it must be restored to factory settings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is kind of good on eBay because you shouldn't sell someone a phone that could potentially have someone's data on it, because when you revert it to factory settings, I'm pretty sure it wipes everything. So
yeah,
hey, look at eBay being the good guy. Okay. Once the game was down, this is when the rumors started flying. So some people said that Nguyen had killed himself. Some people said that Nintendo shut it down for legal reasons because of all the art assets. Some people said that Nguyen himself received too many death threats. But what fueled these rumors even more, and what made even more of these rumors come out that were all completely untrue, is Nguyen refused to do interviews or press announcements with anyone. He just shut the game down and stopped tweeting.
So he wouldn't set the record straight. So, of course, the internet goes off figuring things out. Internet sleuthing.
Exactly. And he would set the record straight, which is that Rolling Stone article, which is good because that's why we have this podcast. But in reality, there are actually a couple issues that caused Nguyen to pull Flappy Bird from the App Store. And I am now going down the list of reasons that Flappy Bird disappeared. And I'm going to address also some of the rumors and why they weren't true at all. The first main problem was fame. In Vietnam, Nguyen became essentially a celebrity overnight. Vietnam didn't have a lot of like tech celebrities, you know, people that are the American success story or whatever, the classic like American dream of like you become a millionaire overnight for a ridiculous idea. Vietnam didn't have that either. And so Nguyen just became a super big celebrity. He was on TV. He was in newspapers. This is actually how his parents found out that he was made this successful game, is they saw him on TV. Yeah.
What a way to find out.
Yeah. And then the paparazzi started hanging around his parents' house because they knew he lived there. So at the time of the interview for Rolling Stone, when David Kushner went to Hanoi to meet him, Nguyen was living at a friend's house, hiding out essentially from the paparazzi. Because this was done 2 weeks after the game was pulled from the App Store, was this story.
Okay.
So that's the first reason. Fame, Vietnam, instant celebrity in his hometown, couldn't get away from anything. Craziness. Okay. Second thing that we're going to bring up, art and legal issues. So on February 6th, 2014, and this is amazing, Kotaku released an article called, quote, Flappy Bird is making $50,000 a day off ripped off art.
Wow, that's inflammatory.
Yeah. And that title would later be changed to Flappy Bird is making $50,000 a day with Mario-like art. And that was because, Kotaku got in trouble, essentially. Pretty bad.
Classic.
And they actually have, like, a letter to the editor apologizing about this. So if you want to look at it, it's actually pretty interesting, being like, yeah, we're sorry we just attacked this dude that we didn't realize was already going through so much. And, yeah, like, so people thought that Nintendo was out to seek legal action against Nguyen and his company Dot Gears, but in reality, that could not be farther from the truth. There's a quote from the Wall Street Journal that says this, quote, in an email to the Wall Street Journal, Nintendo spokesman Yasuhiro Minagawa on Monday reiterated previous company statements that the Japanese video game giant hasn't complained at all about Flappy Bird's similarities to Nintendo's original Super Mario Bros. Quote, this is a quote within the Wall Street Journal article. While we usually do not comment on the rumors and speculations, we have already denied the speculation last week, he said.
That's interesting. Usually Nintendo's pretty litigious. Like if anything goes like that pops up, you think they had compassion for him? They knew he was going through some rough times?
Well, I think they knew that this is like fan service. This is like, he made an original idea. He's not trying to put out a Nintendo property. Like he didn't make super, I don't know, Manio Brothers or whatever. You know? Yeah. It's just like he just made his own game style inspired by their art. And yeah, the big part with the Kotaku article, I'm going off my notes here, so if this sounds confusing, I'm sorry. But the main beef that the Kotaku article had was they did a comparison of the pipes in Super Mario Brothers and the pipes that Nguyen drew for his game. And the guy was like, they're the same pipes. But then you look at the picture and you're like, that's pixel art. Like, it's clearly different. Like, the shading's different. Yeah, they're both green pipes, but it's not.
Well, there's only so many ways to do pixel art, too. You know, by definition, you're only working with so many possible combinations here.
And I think that's what saved him. Like, if he'd have taken the exact pipe from Super Mario Brothers and copy pasted it into Flappy Bird, then there would be a problem. But because he did draw it in the same style, but you could tell it was a different drawing by looking at the pixels, he was fine. That's my theory anyway. So yeah, the Kotaku made a big oopsie essentially, and there's like 3 updates to that story that you can still look at. And then the Flappy Bird fiasco is the name of the apology written by the letter to the editor. So if you want to check that out, you should check that out. But yeah, so while super similar, I think Nintendo realized that this is just like fan service and not a copy paste job. So sure, the tubes are similar and Fabi looks like a cheap from Mario, but it's not that. They're different looking. They just have very similar styles. So yeah, art, legal issues, not that big a deal. Wasn't in trouble, complete rumors. This is where it gets pretty nuts. And this is pretty much the main reason that Dong Nguyen removed Flappy Bird from the App Store. And I'm just going to read what he told David Kushner. This is from the Rolling Stone article. Quote, he, Nguyen, hands me his iPhone so that I can scroll through some of the messages he's saved. One is from a woman chastising him for, quote, distracting the children of the world. Another laments that 13 kids at my school broke their phones because of your game, and they still play it because it's addicting like crack. Nguyen tells me of emails from workers who had lost their jobs, a mother who had stopped talking to her kids. At first, I thought they were just joking, he says, but I realized they really hurt themselves. Nguyen, who says he botched tests in high school because he was playing too much Counter-Strike, genuinely took them to heart. End quote. So the reason that Dong Nguyen pulled Flappy Bird is he didn't like what it had become. And I mean, I'm calling this section people can't control themselves.
Yeah, it seems like hardly his fault there. I mean, the game is so simple that it's not like it's this meticulously designed game to like designed to addict you and keep you coming back. It's like it's Flappy Bird. I don't know any other better way to describe it than just it's Flappy Bird. Like if you made bad choices playing Flappy Bird, you were going to make bad choices playing some other game too. That's a deeper problem than just Flappy Bird.
Yeah, it's addictive, but it wasn't intentionally addictive. And it's addictive just like everything on a phone is addictive, like Facebook or Twitter. And so I think that's why Dong Nguyen took the game down. That's the most prevalent reason. He saw that people were getting hurt, and I think he's a good person and felt bad and pulled the game for that reason.
I could see myself feeling the same way too, of just being like, look, if taking this down helps me feel better about something that's maybe not my fault, but like just helps me feel better about the situation, like I could see myself doing it, especially after you've made so much money. Like you're good. You don't need it, you know?
I think that was another thing, was the guilt of him making $50,000 a day and learning that people are losing their jobs, failing in school, not paying attention. Like I mean, Flappy Bird came out when I was 3 years out of college, so I wasn't in school, but I definitely saw people addictively playing it at like bars and stuff, you know, like it's kind of crazy how that turned out. So that's the reason why he saw people were getting hurt and he pulled the game. I think that and fame were the two big reasons. Legal battles, not real at all. Art ripoffs, yeah, it looks a lot like it, but it's not anything worth like suing someone over. At least Nintendo didn't think so. So let's now look at the legacy of Flappy Birds. And I think what this really comes down to is like, I thought of this story because when I think of famous mobile games, I think of this one because it does not have the current freemium microtransaction model that games like Candy Crush, Marvel Puzzle Quest, Clash of Clans, and so many others. Those are the three I could think of when I was making this notes. But like, I think it's pretty minimalist and it's easy to like click in and like, I think this game had ads, but the ads were minimal. They were like small banners on the bottom of the screen while you were playing, or they would be the occasional pop-up after you died, you know? But it wasn't really a bother of the overall experience. But the legacy of Flappy Bird, I think, is in its clones. And there are so many clones of this game. Still, during the height of its popularity, a new Flappy Bird clone appeared on the App Store every 24 minutes.
What? Holy moly, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to still play the game today is just pick some weird variation and play it. I do have a way that you can play the game as it was. So if you I recommend either playing a clone because they're funny or playing the original that I'll tell you about at the end. But so here are the weird variants. These are not straight up clones. These are weird variants. There's a first person Flappy Bird called, it's called First Person Flappy. It's an FPS is what I call it. There's Flappo Bird, which is Flappy Bird, but with very retro Atari 2600 graphics. So yeah, it's pretty great. Flappy Bird Typing Tour, which is a typing version, like a typing game. And in order to fly, you have to complete the word. And if you stop typing, you fall. So it's like very hard.
That's crazy.
There's a game called Flap, capital FLAP, and that is an abstract text-only version of Flappy Bird. Ninja Flop, which is Flappy Bird, now with ninjas. Flap MMO, it's like multiplayer. So It honestly looks like Flappy Bird 99 if they made Flappy Bird 99, which
that
they
would be
should.
so good.
They need to make it and call it cheap 99.
I would play Flappy Bird 99. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That sounds like so much fun.
Nintendo, cheap 99. Come on, make it. Do it. Okay. Fratty Bird. This is one that will. So I put out a thing on the Discord saying, hey, hint, we're doing a mobile game on Monday. Okay, that's the hint I'm dropping. And then people were putting like, are you going to do like, is this all one big Raid Shadow Legends ad? That was very funny. That was a very funny comment. But Will actually guessed Flappy Bird, and he said Fratty Bird. And I'm glad he told me this. There's a game called Fratty Bird where the bird is a small frat house that shoots ping pong balls, and you have to shoot the ping pong balls into the cups to open the pipes to go through them. So thank you, Will, on Discord for finding out Fratty Bird. And then here are some like straight up clones that are not even trying. Fallout Bird, which is the Fallout Boy version of Flappy Bird. Flying Drizzy, and that is Flappy Bird with Drake. Flying Cyrus, and that is Miley Cyrus Flappy Bird. And Flappy Bert, which is Bert from Sesame Street. That's probably the best one, I think. There's even a site called flappycreator.com that lets you reskin Flappy Bird any way you want. So you could put in what the bird looks like, and you can put in what like the tubes look like, and put your own images in there and make your own parody, which I think is pretty fun.
That's funny.
But as I said before, if you want to play the closest version to the original phone game of Flappy Bird, there's a website called flappybird.io that is pretty much the original version of the game in a browser. And it might not be an exact copy, but it's pretty close as far as like what I've seen. So if you want to feel, if you never played this game and you want to know what it feels like, flappybird.io, you just hit the space bar to make the bird go up and down. And I
definitely just played a game of it, lost immediately. I'm bad.
It's really, really hard. It's very, very hard. So overall, this game was huge for mobile gaming. It was super fun when it came out. Like, as I said before, like my memories are from my friends and I would like talk smack and compare scores and like act like it was a really big deal, but it really wasn't because it is a silly game. But that said, I think it's important to note that this is kind of a cautionary tale to some people about having like, you know, you make this game and it kind of gets out of control. And it's like, whether you're a player or a creator, you know, like you have to be careful about what you're making or what you're playing if you're playing too much of it. So I think that's kind of what this game showed. And this game is really about, I guess you could say, cell phone addiction before that really was being talked about. Because I think now we talk about it a lot with social media and stuff, but people were addicted to Flappy Bird. I think it's pretty safe to say that. And I'm actually haven't got the book yet, but there's a book called Hooked that's about like ethical software development. I was talking to Tyler about it last night, and I'm excited to read it because I'm curious if maybe some of the things from Flappy Bird would translate over to that book. Granted, that book's more about like social media, but about how apps are designed for phones. Like maybe, I don't think Dong Nguyen intentionally did it to be addictive.
Yeah, well, like what part of it would you say would be like intentional if you did it? You'd be like the quick restarts, I
think the only thing that I could think of as being addictive is the chase for a high score.
Yeah, but okay, that's just video games.
Exactly. Like, so are video games inherently that way, or is it just
I guess you could make that argument. But
yeah, so it's interesting. So I haven't read the book yet. I mean, I'm just talking about stuff I haven't even read yet, you know, classic me. But yeah. After 3.5 hours of Flappy Bird research, I can firmly say that this game is very important to mobile gaming, and we will be covering more mobile gaming in the future, but we need to do a fighting game, I think, because we completely ignored fighting games.
And that Mortal Kombat movie just came out.
Oh, it's so great. It's everything I wanted it to be. It's so silly.
It was a lot better than it should have been.
Definitely. So good. So, yeah. There's also a mobile game that I wanted to cover that because I was like trying to think to myself, when did I play a mobile game that I really, really liked? And I realized that it was like 8 years ago. There's a text-based game that definitely was a mobile port of a PC game called A Dark Room. Have you ever heard of this? And it's really good. And I definitely, we need to talk more about text-based games anyway, because I think that's a pretty important part of, you know, the video game history that we kind of jumped over a little bit in the book, but didn't really cover too much. And I want to talk about that. But Tyler, one thing I can confirm before I ask you the question is 2 weeks from now, I will be doing BioShock Infinite. So,
okay.
Tyler, what you been playing?
What I've been playing, Persona 5 Strikers. Still slowly making my way through that game. I've gotten to the final boss of the 3rd dungeon, and will play that later today. So probably by the time you hear this, listener, I will have finished the 3rd dungeon of Persona 5 Strikers. Playing a lot of League of Legends at night, and watched the Mortal Kombat movie yesterday, which was a lot better than it should have been. Like I just said, like it's not a great movie, but it's a great Mortal Kombat movie. Loved it. You know.
I really was like, this is exactly what I wanted. It's silly.
As a person
violent.
who has no connection to Mortal Kombat at all, like I didn't play the games growing up. I know what I know is just what I have like sort of gained through osmosis in pop culture. That's all I know about Mortal Kombat. I was still able to pick up on a lot of things like I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, it was very satisfying.
Did you watch the like late 90s, early 2000s Mortal Kombat movies like Annihilation and stuff like that? Because those are also
I never watched
on HBO
any of those.
now. Annihilation's on HBO. The original Mortal Kombat is not. I'm guessing because they didn't want to confuse people because the new one's called
probably.
Mortal Kombat also. So yeah, it's very good. Check them out for sure.
Yeah. But other than that, I really haven't been playing too much because I've been my media consumption time has been split a little bit. I finished reading a book called Flash Boys on high frequency trading, completely unrelated to video games. They came out a few years ago, and then I've been watching Full Metal Alchemist, which we've been discussing on the Discord. I've just made it to part 3. I guess that's like season 3,
right?
Yes, I'm watching Brotherhood. I watched the original. I don't know if we've talked about this on the podcast before, but I watched the original many, many years ago when it was still sort of new. Loved it. Never watched Brotherhood until now, and I've made it to part 3. That's like kind of like season 3, I guess. And I'm really enjoying it. It's really starting to pick up. It was kind of slow in the beginning because there's a lot of setup and a lot of the storylines are similar to the original anime. So I was like I was never able to really get hooked into it because I already kind of knew what was happening. But now it's definitely branched off to be different from the original. So I'm getting into it now that the story is very different and having a good time with that. So that's where a lot of my media consumption time has been. But I think next what I want to play after I finish Persona is I want to start playing a Tales game, either Tales of Vesperia, which is on Game Pass, or Tales of Berseria, which I picked up in a Steam sale, because there's a new Tales game coming out later this year. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it looks really cool. Like the graphics look awesome. And it's a JRPG, and you know how much I love those. So that's what I'm thinking.
Loves JRPGs.
Sure do. What have you been playing,
games?
Mike?
No. JRPGs, yes. I have been playing BioShock Infinite, beat the game, and then beat Burial at Sea Episode 1, and I'm currently on Burial at Sea Episode 2. So I plan on beating that this week. Really enjoying and surprised at how different Burial at Sea Episode 2 is from the original and the first episode.
Really?
It's different for a very specific reason that we'll get into when we do the history, but I'm very excited to do the history, and I'm very excited. It's just been great. It's just kind of a trip down memory lane, and then sticking with the story afterward and playing the DLC has been a really good experience. I have not played Clash in the Clouds. I didn't play that game. That's the other DLC. I just skipped it.
I feel like that's like an arena thing or like a never-ending boss rush kind of deal or something like that.
Yeah.
That I don't know has a lot of story value.
It's like an arena challenge mode, and you unlock stuff. We'll still talk about it, and I might try to just pick it up so I can kind of have some reference on it. But I'm not planning on putting too much time into that DLC. I was more focused on the story DLC because that's what's interesting about BioShock to me. So
I agree.
Yeah, but it's been really fun, and I also picked up Super Mario 3D World again, and I played that a bit this week with my girlfriend.
I need to keep going on that too.
We gave up on the getting all the green stars. We totally gave up. It's hard because it gets really hard. So we're just trying to beat the game now. But I also got Super Smash Bros. Ultimate this week, and I played a little bit of that.
How's that going?
It's good. I haven't played a ton of it. I was also playing the wrong thing. I got some good advice on the Discord that I should not play the adventure mode because it does look really repetitive and it's going to get even more repetitive. So I might just go for unlocking all the characters because when I play against people for the podcast, I want to have the characters I want to play unlocked. I also paid full price for it, but that's just Nintendo. Which kind of bums me out.
That's just the way it goes. I don't think you're going to get away. You may be able to, if you wait long enough, you can maybe snag it for like $10 off, but I don't think it's worth. And you never know when that's going to happen, so it's not really worth.
I already got $5 off of it because of the whole like coin system that Nintendo eShop does.
Oh,
where,
nice.
Like, you collect coins when you buy things for money, and it gives you discounts later. So I got it for $5 off. That felt fine to me. I actually Googled how often does Smash Brothers Ultimate go on sale, and it was like never. It never goes on sale.
Probably never has been on sale. Yeah,
it's been like I didn't realize how because it came out in 2018, but it's still very, very popular. And they've been really...
They keep putting out new characters for it, new battle passes and stuff, I think.
Yeah, they have a brand new DLC pass. Well, the DLC pass is still going for like season 2 of the DLC. So they release like a character every once in a while. And they just announced one on Nintendo Direct. So, but yeah, it's been really fun. And so do you want to do some emails real quick? We got 2 emails to read.
Yeah, let's do a couple emails here.
All right, the first one is from Alexa. Hey, yo, fellas. You know what I want to hear about? I want to know about your guys' top 5 favorite video games of all time. Let us know about the intricate tastes of our beloved podcast co-hosts. Also, I wanted to ask, I know you two do this podcast as a hobby, but have you ever considered starting up a Patreon for the podcast? I've never donated to one, but I would happily be a patron for Codex. Much love from the Bay Area, Alexa. Well, to answer the Patreon question, we have thought about it, but we kind of do this for the love of the game. That's how we feel. And the minute we would add a Patreon to it, I feel like if we did that, we would have to add a bonus thing. That's kind of we don't have to, but that's kind of my thought on it. And while that may be something we do in the future, when times change, we're both pretty busy. So I think we're kind of good to stick with it as it is now. And also this, like we've said before, like we're so amazingly thankful for everyone that listens because this podcast has greatly surpassed our expectations of getting listeners. So we're blown away and super flattered and very happy with what it is now. But we might do Patreon in the future, but for now, it's probably a no-go at this point. But for the top 5 favorite games of all time, I think it's more fun if we go back and forth. So we'll each do one.
Okay.
Not in any. We're doing no order. We're not going to do
my list cannot, in any given moment of a day, my list will change orders, but I think I can nail it down to 5 top games.
Okay, so do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
You go first.
First game, again, not in order, Perfect Dark N64. I played that game so much. I love it so much. I think about it all the time.
Great game.
Great single player, great multiplayer. I was that kid that played bots alone in the multiplayer mode. Laptop guns cheating. So fun. Okay, go ahead, Tyler.
For me, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time.
It's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yep. Just like rapid fire. You're next.
Oh, I'm next. Okay. This is also an N64 game. That's how I played it. The original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Yeah, great one. Banjo-Kazooie, also an N64 game. We're just listing N64 games now.
All right. I have to put this one on there. A lot of my games are based off of childhood nostalgia. And on Xbox, same. And I have no idea how I beat this game on Xbox because it's very hard. But as a child, you have that uncanny ability to just like beat a very hard video game and think nothing of it. Elder Scrolls Morrowind.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm a big fan of Morrowind. I beat it. It was crazy. I tried to play it now and I felt so lost, but it's a great game. Buggy, but great.
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid 3 from the same era as Morrowind, I suppose.
All right, I'm going to put this on here because I think it still is this. I think it's still the original BioShock. I thought Infinite could take it over. It's very close to taking it over. But
yeah,
because Infinite has really blown me away playing it again. And I think I'm going to still say the original BioShock, but Infinite is like up there. If we could do 6, it would be Infinite also.
Yeah.
So, all right, you go. That was 4, so you go next.
Final Fantasy 7. That's my 4th one.
All right.
Love it.
Original. It's a classic. It's probably my favorite. This actually might just be my number 1 because I always go back to it. Just Super Mario World for SNES. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's a great game. Star Road, everything about it. Secrets. Oh, fantastic.
So great. Shoot. I feel like I had a good one here because, like I said, mine sort of change.
Oh, man.
Often.
Also, Pokemon Red, too. See, this is the problem with the top 5. It's like only 5? Alexa?
Yeah, Pokemon.
You're killing me.
Yeah. I mean, we can stretch it out into 10. It's our podcast. We can do whatever we want.
We could just do another. I mean, someone else is gonna someone that is gonna start listening to the podcast and then ask us this email, ask us the same question, and so we can just remember this and then do a different top 5 next time.
Yeah, it'll be different, and then somebody will be like, "You guys said 2 years ago."
At minute 46. No, okay.
My 5th one, I guess I'll go with Star Fox 64.
Oh, that's a great one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, but there's a lot of honorable mentions. I'm thinking the Half-Life series, the Unreal Tournament series.
Man,
Gosh,
Half-Life.
let me look at my games on the wall here.
I played so many hours of Counter-Strike Source, and I'm just completely forgetting about that. Because I'm really trying to pick... When I think of games that I really fell in love with, it was always a single-player experience when I was a kid, or I was having a bad downtime. I mean, Fallout 3 could also be in there, because Fallout 3 was my reintroduction back into video games in between early high school and college. I kind of stopped playing in high school, and in college I picked up an Xbox 360 and I got Fallout 3, and that just brought me right back in again, and it was so good, and I just it gives me chills just thinking about it.
Great game. Oh, another one, Rock Band. I gotta go with Rock Band. It's a game that I don't know if my mom's listening to this podcast, but I definitely skipped school to go pick up my copy of Rock Band.
Ooh,
this was 15 years ago, so hopefully, Mom, sorry about that. It was sort of sanctioned. I was in a journalism class where we were allowed to leave to go try to sell ads for the school paper. Sometimes we just left and didn't really try to sell ads. We would just go somewhere.
Yeah, making a high school student do sales is always a bad idea. So
it didn't work out for us. So we definitely during journalism, we went to the mall, to the GameStop, where we had all pre-ordered it. And it was great because that was a really expensive. I got the big box, and it was pretty expensive. I want to say it was $170 or $180. And I had a job. I worked at a Wendy's in high school, and so I was able to save up to get this, and I felt really great about it. And so I bought this Rock Band thing, and I played the crap out of the drums on that. And I still, I played drums before that for realsies, but I still love to play Rock Band drums because I just think it's so fun.
Okay, I have another question now for our listeners based off of how great your story just was. Okay, what is the thing that you bought, video game you bought with your own money that you remember first time? Because I didn't buy a video game my first time. I built a computer with my own money the first time, but that led to so many video games. So that would be my answer. I worked at Cold Stone Creamery in high school and took all that sweet Cold Stone cream money, and I built a PC with my friend, right? And then I played Oblivion, and I played Counter-Strike and all sorts of stuff on there. But if you have a moment from your first job or the first time, it doesn't even have to be the first time you bought a thing on a video game thing on your own, send us an email. We want to hear from you. codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. Gosh,
such nostalgia for those times, because I had a job where I made, it was Wendy's. I wasn't making a living there, but I didn't have any expenses, right? So all of the money that I made, I could spend on whatever I wanted, and so I could just buy, if there were games coming out that I wanted, I could just buy them, and it was very nice. It was a great time in my life.
Didn't you work with Matt in Japan at that Wendy's?
I did work with Matt in Japan at that Wendy's. That's right, yeah. Oh, man, that was a lot of fun.
He said that in the Discord, and I got very excited because I was like, oh, we're getting the history of Tyler. Okay, follow-up question that everyone's thinking right now. Did you get free Frosties?
Absolutely. Was I supposed to? Probably not, but I definitely did.
Every time I worked a shift at Cold Stone, they're like, you get to have a Like It size, which is the smallest size ice cream, and I had a Love It size every single. Okay, so thank you for the email. It's a great email. Great question.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, here we go. Let's go on to Mo's email.
All right.
Okay, you read Mo's email, and then we'll figure out how we're going to do this.
Okay, I'll read Mo's email. Hey dudes, it's Mo. If you have time this episode, I thought it would be fun to challenge you with a quick game called Real or Fake. You two can work together, or you can challenge each other by tracking individual scores. Listeners can play along as well. I'll describe a Pokemon, and you have to decide if it's a real Pokemon from one of the games or a fake Pokemon that I made up. After you've both made your guesses for a question, highlight the redacted text. Oh, it's just how the email works, because you can't really see the text in the email without highlighting. Okay. This reminds me of a game we used to play when we played a lot of Destiny, called Destiny Gun or Wham Song, where you would name either a Destiny Gun or a Wham Song, and the other person would have to guess. And, it wasn't always easy.
It was not always easy. So, okay. So here's the thing. So I can't see the answers at all because I can't see colors very well. I know they're lightly tinted so you can see them, but I can't. So you should quiz me.
Okay.
And then our listeners can play along.
Okay. Number one.
Okay.
This Pokemon looks like a buff dude carrying a steel beam. Real or fake?
So he's like a construction worker?
I guess. I don't know.
A buff dude carrying a steel... Well, they have like Machamp and Machoke, right? So those are buff dudes. So yeah, let's say yes. Sure.
It's real? Okay. The answer is yes, it's real. He's referring to specifically Girder from Generation 5.
Girder? Okay.
Girder.
I only remember 151, so this is going to be
same.
rough. Okay, next one.
Yeah. I remember 151 with a little bit of Gen 2. Once we get beyond that, I'm pretty worthless. Okay. Number 2. This Pokemon looks like a happy ice cream cone. Real or fake?
I want it to be real because I love ice cream, but that just sounds so fake because it's an ice cream cone. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say fake.
Real. Vanillish from Generation 5.
Vanillish?
Vanillish, yeah.
Oh my
okay,
gosh.
number 3. This Pokemon looks
Nintendo.
like an angsty. This Pokemon looks like an angsty skateboard with sharp teeth and dopey eyes.
That can't be real. There's no way.
It's not real.
Okay,
not
good.
real.
What's the did he give it a name though? Did he make up a name?
No, he did not give it. He says fake for now at least. Okay, number 4. This Pokemon looks like a goofy pile of trash that has come to life.
I know this is real because I was listening to a podcast today where they were just talking about how how Nintendo gave up on Pokemon. This is like rubbish or trubbish or something like that.
Garbodor.
I knew there was
From
like
Generation 5.
Yeah, that I knew that there was like they said there's a Pokemon that's literally garbage, and I'm like, okay.
This Pokemon looks like an off-brand version of Pikachu.
Is it Mikachu? Or what's the name of the Pokemon that has the Pikachu that has a bag over its head?
Well, are you answering real or fake?
I'm saying real because I think it's that one.
Okay. Real Mimikyu from Generation 7, which looks like a...
That's it. That he wears a bag over his head because he's so terrifying looking.
I think he changes to look like other Pokemon besides Pikachu, doesn't he? Or maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, but he's misunderstood.
He's often
but we love him.
Yeah, he's often portrayed as a Pikachu, so we'll go with that one. Okay. Number 6, this Pokemon looks like a chubby vegetable wearing a fedora.
Like a neckbeard zucchini? It can't be real. No.
It's fake. If I were to give it a name, it would be like Bogart-a-Moran or something like that. You know, like Humphrey Bogart.
It's Tendy.
Yeah. Okay, number 7, this Pokemon looks like a floating ring of somebody's car keys.
Is that like what are the unknowns? Like the floating letters?
I mean, those are
I'm gonna say
real
no.
Pokemon.
I'm gonna say no. This is gonna be fake. Like car keys.
It is real. Klefki from Generation 6.
I'm upset now. Okay, let's keep going.
Number 8, this Pokemon looks like a toothbrush with 4 legs wearing sneakers.
That feels a lot like the skateboard one. So as much as I want Nintendo to care about dental hygiene, I'm going to say this is fake.
It is fake. That would be ridiculous, he says. All right, number 9, this Pokemon looks like a Valentine's Day heart with eyes and a mouth.
That is real. There is a heart-shaped Pokemon that it's in like Ultra Moon and Sun, I think.
Yes, it is real. Love Disc from Generation 3.
Oh, Gen 3. Oh, you know how I remember Love Disc? It was in Pokemon Go. That was like a Valentine's Day thing.
There you go.
Yeah, so.
All right, last one. This Pokemon looks like a cute little melted candle.
A cute little melted candle. Yeah, that sounds like a Pokemon. I'm going to say yes.
It is real. Litwick from Generation 5.
Nice. I didn't do bad.
So I feel like you got about half. I wasn't keeping track, but Mo says you get 20 spider butts for each win you got correct.
Oh,
so.
Give me those spider butts. Because if I get them now, I don't have to go collect them for some random villager. This is good.
Yep.
This is really good. That's a great game, Mo.
That is good. Yeah. That was fun.
I want to know how people did too at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could also do next episode. We could do a Destiny Gun or Wham song. That would be fun to play.
Oh boy, that would be fun.
That would be fun to
that
play.
was so much fun.
Yeah, I kind of want to make that quiz and quiz you because I feel like there's some guns from Destiny 1 that because you didn't play Destiny 1.
Yeah,
so
I would know.
Yeah, so I could like quiz you on it and we could do that. That'd be fun. Thank you for the email, Mo. If you want to email us, you can email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can also join our Discord if you'd like. You could do that by looking at me on Twitter. I'm at Mecoletta, MECOLETTA. You can also just send us an email and I'll send you a link as well. We've had a lot of people join the Discord like over the last couple of weeks. It's pretty cool. Not like I'm saying a lot, but not like we've had people join in. It's not like we're no Flappy Bird over here. Okay. Tyler's on Twitter at SneakerElf, ELPH. It was his birthday yesterday, so you should wish him a happy birthday over
on Saturday.
Email. Yeah, I guess that's true. We're on Monday today, but when we're recording. Oh, We're pulling back the curtain, everybody. Watch out.
We record on Sundays. Oh no, it's not live when you click play on your
that's
podcast
right.
player.
But yeah, I think that's it. What we got going on next week? Do you know what you're doing yet, or is it a surprise?
I think we're gonna make it a surprise. Might be more Metroid though.
Okay, cool. Well, with that, I'm Mike Coletta. Do you want to say bye, Tyler?
Yeah, bye, Tyler.